You can get hit by a car doing that silly shit.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hello and welcome to DogSpeak Reacts, or at least that's what I'm calling it. Today we're going to look at a few short videos and we're going to react to them. Now the purpose of these videos is not for me to bash any trainers or bash any sort of methods, even though I probably will. The purpose is for education. I want to give you an idea of kind of what we look for as trainers and what things we definitely want to avoid. So let's get right into this and look at a few videos.
You can get hit by a car doing that silly shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad though, because it goes from, he like loads.
Now I get the purpose of him doing this is safety. We don't want any dogs getting hit by cars, but I believe there's a better way to start doing this. If we know our dog is going to lunge at a car, why would we bring our dog closer to the car to give them the chance to lunge? That's like bringing my kid up to a snake, having them scream because they're scared, and then me smacking them because they screamed. Well, they're probably not going to scream anymore when they're around snakes, not because they're not afraid of snakes, but more because they're afraid that I'm going to hit them. We don't want to create fear to fix fear. I'm not saying that this won't work. It probably will work. The dog won't chase cars anymore, but we're probably going to create problems down the line. Let's think about this for a second. If we're teaching our dog that being near cars can be potentially scary and maybe cause pain, wouldn't this cause problems later in life when we need to load our dog up in the car? We might take our dog up to the car to take him to the vet. Oop, now our dog is scared to get in the car. While this may be far-fetched, this happens more than you think.
Horrible behavior. Better that time though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Only have to do that 1 or 2 more times, hopefully. Let's see if he wants to chase cars this time.
See how the dog already started jumping back? Yeah, I'd be scared of that car too.
A little better. He's almost like, hell no for that car. Hell no, don't chase my car.
Again, I'm not saying these methods don't work. There's a reason these trainers use these methods, but they're not my first go-to. There's no need to cause pain in order to make a dog do something for us. We're trying to create a relationship, not learned helplessness where our dog only learns to do things out of submission because there's no other choice for them to make, because any other choice they make will result in fear or pain. You may be able to get away with this with some dogs, yelling, scolding, that kind of stuff, and they won't be that much affected, but other dogs, just like people, one yell, one scold will affect them for a long time. Right? Every dog's different, just like people, depending on their confidence, their exposure, their experience. These all come into play. My point is that we don't need to resort to these things as the first form of training. There are tons and tons of other methods we can try before we need to result in physical pain.
All right, so he's already got at least 3 or 4 heavy corrections on chasing cars. And now, thank God, it's a busy intersection. 10 times better.
Yeah.
Gotta be. Welcome to Miami. Welcome to Miami.
Arrest him.
And now we pay him. Hey, we pay him for that. Killing it.
Let's just say it's a given that this will work. With the proper timing, the proper method, the proper pressure on the leash, let's just say that this method will work. I don't understand why we would put this out to the public to show people that maybe have never trained dogs in their life that this will work to make their dog not chase cars. Now we're just setting up a client to fail and the dog to fail, and then later down the line we're sending this dog off to either get rehomed or retrained, probably using the same methods. Again, we just want to look at the dog's mindset of why they're doing this. Is there prey drive going on, right? Is there genetics causing our dog to do this? What is the reason behind this dog chasing the car? It could already be fear, and that's the reason the dog's chasing the car. Now by adding more fear, we're creating a worse problem to where, yeah, the dog might not chase the car on leash with you when you're right there, but let's say the dog gets out the door. Boom, now we're chasing the car. Again, we want to change the association with the car, not the symptom we're seeing around the car. I think a better technique for this would be create greater distance between the dog and the car so that we reduce any sort of fear, reward our dog as the car comes by so we can teach our dog what we want them to do instead of what not to do. Right? I say it all the time, when we teach our dog what we don't want them to do, when we say no to them and just correct them all the time, that's like me asking you what you want from the grocery store and I give you a list of all things I don't want you getting. Well, you're never going to come back and make me happy. I want to give you very clear instructions of what I want you to do. So with the dog, when a car comes by, I start rewarding them far away. As a dog is fine with that and they don't need those many rewards and don't need that constant reassurance, I then get closer and closer and closer and adjust from there. I'm teaching the dog what to do around the car. Yeah, I've said enough on this one. I'm moving on to the next one.
How does he do on walks?
Likes to pull.
A little bit?
A lot, right?
Yeah.
And he likes to eat everything under the sun.
And so I'm gonna hook him up to the prong collar here. And so all I'm doing at first is giving him pressure. Yes, good. And I'm rewarding him when he comes back to me. I'm teaching him how to turn this off. And so at no point am I pulling him. It's a little pop, and he just made a decision all on his own to come back to me.
Well, I kind of disagree there. I don't think he made the decision all on his own there. I think he needed some pain or a pinch to help him make that decision. You know, that's the equivalent of a kid making the wrong decision. I pinched them to get them to submit to me. Yeah, it works, right? It definitely works. There's a reason that this method works very quickly, but we don't want to add fear to make our dog submit to us. We're not creating a relationship there, we're creating a dictatorship. We don't want to be authoritarian. We want to make sure that our dog understands what the expectation is and not be afraid to make choices. If the goal is to have 100% verbal cooperation with your dog, the more we use this leash pressure to get that cooperation, the less likely we're going to have off-leash control. I mean, think about it. If we have the dog off-leash, and the dog starts going forward and we don't have a way to pop them or to correct them with a shock collar, then how do we have a way to communicate with them? We like to use our words to communicate. Now here we like to use this way to change direction and let's go to start the walk. It's important we have these verbal cues in place so that we can communicate with our dog. That way if my dog is 30 feet away and I need them to come back to me or come back near me or change directions, I can get cooperation without having to scold my dog or threaten them with some sort of shock or whatever it may be.
I'm the train. If I stop, he has to stop with me. I'm not giving him a warning that I'm stopping. I'm just stopping. And he has to be paying some sort of attention to me. Right now, he's checking in with me. I haven't asked him to do this, right? But he's kind of settled into his role a little bit.
Like a normal dog.
Yes. And so make sure the leash is always loose. It's going to be hard. It's going to be new muscle memory for you because you're used to him pulling.
I'm used to using all of my arm muscles.
And so you can start to set him up a little bit where you're really pushing him to pay attention to you. And I'll kind of show you what that looks like.
Okay.
Yes! Like making it a little bit of a game.
Yeah.
But the game is him paying attention to me, not doing other things, right? The game is his attentiveness on me.
So I'll make Damon enjoy walking with him again. He can't stand walking.
It's fun when it's peaceful and calm.
Having him drag you the whole time is not fun. Good boy.
Right, and the whole idea is, right, you're walking.
Now I love that this dog is walking with a loose leash now when we have that good communication, but do we really have communication, or is our dog only listening to us out of fear that they're going to feel some pain? I mean, I would say it's the latter. I disagree, and I don't think the dog should have to stare at us 24/7 to make sure they're right with us and all that kind of stuff. I think they should tune in with their ears, not so much their eyes. Dogs are dogs. They need to sniff, they need to explore, they process the environment differently than us. So, I do have different cues in place to communicate what I want from them. If I'm okay with them taking a sniffy walk, I tell them go sniff. If I want them to go back a different direction, I tell them this way, as opposed to just taking a kid's arm and just yanking them. Right? It's like if I'm walking with a kid across the street and I have them by the arm and all of a sudden I just jerk them and go this way. I'm like, how come you're not with me? That's not probably very good communication. How about I communicate to my kid or dog, hey, let's go this way. Let's do this. How about we do this instead? I don't feel like we need to use that physical strength in order to make them cooperate. Also, you mentioned where the dog needs to learn to turn it off, that being the pressure of the prong collar. Well, that's like, again, me pinching a kid or pinching you and saying, I'm not going to stop doing this until you quit what you're doing. Well, yeah, you're going to get results, but we have to look at the motivation behind these results. Are we developing a relationship, or are we basically commanding our loved one what to do? We need to have some sort of relationship there so that both are accountable. We both understand expectations. Now, that being said, of course there will be consequences. There are always consequences to learning, but we just don't believe here that consequences should be scary. consequences to be a way to learn that that method simply doesn't work. So when a dog pulls us and I change directions, I teach my dog that that simply doesn't work. When they stay with me, I reward them, teach them that being with me and staying tuned in with me is more worth it. But I also use my words and communicate what I want with my dog.
Is it possible to teach your dog not to eat anything off the ground unless you personally give it to him? Let's see. First, I started by putting a treat in my hand and then presenting it in front of my dog's face, and if he tried to go for it, I said nope and closed my hand. But if he didn't, I said yes and rewarded him from my treat pouch.
So far, so good. I like what I see so far. The only thing I can do without is the no whenever the dog tries to go for the treat in hand, because there's no need for it really. There's just no real purpose for it. If I want the dog to do this on their own, there's no need for me to say no. If I'm always telling my dog no not to do something, well, doesn't that require me to be around to tell my dog no? Just a thought.
And when I wanted him to take this treat, all I did was say, get it, and brought the treat right to his mouth. After a few repetitions, he was no longer making any mistakes, so we repeated the game with the treat on the ground. Yes! But if the treat got too close to his face, he was still immediately eating it. So I took my time progressively shrinking the distance between him and the treat, interrupting any mistakes. Yes! Get it! Then I repeated the game with higher and higher value foods like chicken and cheese, and now I can walk him up to things like this duck poop, even let him sniff it if I want to. You want to sniff? And know that he is not going to touch it unless he hears those magic words.
Okay, so I love this. I like the way you did this. It's pretty much the way we do it. The only thing I would argue against maybe would be the get it thing. Just because it could be a little confusing when I'm telling a dog, leave this alone, and then right after, get it. Again, it's not the end of the world. You can teach it that way. If I'm going to teach that to a client, though, I'm going to do that later on once the dog understands exactly what to do. Just be careful with that one, teaching get it too early on, because then that could be a little confusing. But other than that, I like what I saw.
Biting is one of the #1 issues we hear about from new dog owners. Whether that's your puppy chasing your child around, ripping their clothes off, biting them in the butt and making them bleed with those sharp puppy teeth, or they're biting you in the face and same thing. It doesn't feel good. Now, the #1 tip you hear about on the internet is to redirect. That means after your puppy bites you, then pop out with a treat or a toy. That's not the way to do it. You're just teaching your puppy to bite you to get the things that they want. Instead, what I would suggest is bring out from the get-go, bring out that bully stick, bring out that toy that they can chew on and sink their teeth into, and then...
I'm pleasantly surprised so far from what I hear. I do agree with that we do need to provide our dog stuff to chew on before they get in that habit of chewing on us, because at that point we do need to help them understand that chewing on us is not good. But I do like the fact that we're providing our dog stuff to do beforehand. We're teaching them, hey, chew on this, no need to chew on me or my furniture. So like what I hear so far.
They still bite you after that because they're gonna run out of the bully stick or they're gonna get bored of the toy and they bite you, then we must correct the puppy. And yes, it's okay to correct a young puppy and let them know you can't bite me. How do you do that? 5 different methods. You can leash pop, you can flank, you can scruff, you can pop the grape, and you can also do something we call drowning on the bite. Very minimally aversive methods that will stop puppy biting within 1 to 2 reps guaranteed.
I don't agree with that. I don't even know what half that stuff is. Pop the grape, it sounds inappropriate with any context. I think there's a better way to go about this. We have to look at 2 different things. One, is our dog overstimulated? Is our puppy overwhelmed? Is our puppy tired? Which is probably the most common reason why our puppy is going to be biting in the first place, besides the fact that they're a puppy. But we have to ask ourselves those few questions to determine what the next step is. If our dog is overstimulated, overtired, overwhelmed, probably a good time for some enrichment away from all the stimulation. Probably a good time for a nap. You'd be surprised of how helpful a nap can be for your puppy, just like a baby. Now, let's say your puppy is not overwhelmed, not tired, and just, maybe they're just hanging out by you, and now they're starting to use you as a chew toy. Well, for that, I'm gonna teach the puppy how they understand. When a puppy bites me, I'm gonna yelp, pull away, I'm gonna ignore them for at least 3 to 5 seconds, and then I'm going to resume doing what I was doing before. Whether that's playing with them, petting them, whatever the case might be. I may even give them something to chew on if appropriate. But like he said in the video, I don't want to teach the dog to bite me to get us to play. If I yelp and my dog starts biting more, well, that's my clear sign that my dog is probably overstimulated or tired. So I need to put my dog up and have some rest time. It's kind of like if I'm wrestling with my dad when I'm a kid. If I accidentally pinch him or pull his hair, we don't stop the game and just give up. No, he stops the game. He says, hey, we don't play that way, and then we resume playing the game. We have to have an opportunity to learn. And if we just stop the game and cause fear and pain, I suddenly don't really want to play this game anymore. This doesn't really sound fun. Or if we start getting our hands on our dog and scolding them and doing all these things, can be confused as play. It can also create more stress in our dog, which then creates more biting. Long story short, it's not my go-to when dealing with puppy biting. Puppy biting is pretty easily fixed, but when we do these methods, these aversive methods where we're just punishing our dog and being harsh with them, we end up creating a more stressed out dog, which then in turn creates more biting. One more thought on this actually is a big reason why a lot of dogs cower away when we reach towards them or try to interact with them if we've used these aversive methods in the past. These hands that should be the best things in the world, where we play and pet our dogs and give treats with those hands, now these hands suddenly become something a little scary. Now obviously, if you've taken our communication seminar, you know that us reaching towards a dog can be seen as confrontational, but now if we've linked that with confrontation, now we have a recipe for disaster, to where we have a hard time getting hands on our dog or getting the dog by the collar gently. We want to make sure we're not creating any sort of fear with our relationship. Well, that is all I have for you on this video. Be sure to tune in the next video when we do some more reactions, and if you have any suggestions of videos that you want us to react to, shoot us a video or link it to us on Facebook or Instagram. And be sure to check out our podcast, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more videos and learning. Thank you.